Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Call of Duty intro you showed me is close to 9 months old at this point.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's still stupid. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's still a little bit silly. It's been a long time since I've looked at something video game related and just, alright, calm the hell down. Just calm down.
Yeah, I guess this isn't news, but if you're not plugged into Call of Duty, which I'm not.
Which I haven't been for years.
Apparently they've started doing a Marvel Studios style intro where the logo is made up of a clip show of some of their finest moments, I suppose, and all I can think is get the hell out of here.
First off, when it started, when I realized what was happening, I was that sloth from that clip in Zootopia. I was just like, no.
I did the inverse. My face scrunched up like I stuck a lemon in it.
It did. I showed this to the man, and his face, like, scrunched up like, look at what they've done to my boy.
Except I don't care. Anyways, welcome to Under the Bridge, everybody.
Welcome to Under the Bridge.
I'm Cody, aka the Scarlet Troll.
And I am Greg, aka Greg.
And this is our podcast where we talk news of the pop culture variety. Sometimes gaming news, sometimes comic news, pretty much always movie news, and also pretty much always a movie review. So make sure to ring the like button and smash that bell if that's what you're about. And also share the video around because it helps.
Share indeed. Share with everyone, like how we shared with ourselves the Call of Duty intro now.
I finally did it in one take!
Yay! Hooray!
It only took, what is that, 4 months?
Yeah!
Maybe longer?
I'm dying.
Don't do that. I don't want to have to do this episode by myself.
I'm not planning on it, so I got water next to me.
Good, because otherwise it's just me shouting into a void. I got a lot of stuff to complain about this week.
Hell yeah.
Heck yeah, I do. Case in point, God, this is gonna be the stupidest thing I've ever said, maybe. Donald Duck was on Hot Ones recently.
What?
Yeah.
Hold on. No, this is the whole we'll be right back thing.
Da 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 da.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I gotta look this up real quick.
No, they did it.
No, I refuse to believe you.
I think it's Donald's 90th anniversary or something, so Disney's really been plugging him.
Holy fucking shit.
Thanks.
I this one time I kind of don't care.
You know what? I might leave it in, actually.
Oh my god, apparently they did one with Puss in Boots last year.
Oh, didn't know that.
Kinda hate that, I'm not gonna lie.
The important thing about the Donald Duck Hot Ones thing, beyond forcing me to question that is it morally wrong if Donald Duck eats chicken, is... Like, on the one hand, I know it's not exactly cannibalism, but I feel like it's close, but then I start to think, what if chickens and ducks are actually as taxonomically different from each other as a human is to a cow? Did I just commit an animated animal racism?
I mean, I feel like ducks are still poultry, so to that extent, it's cannibalism by association.
Is it, though? Is it?
I don't know. Let's consult the Google. Is duck poultry?
Well, that's not the question here. Like, if a human eats a chimpanzee, that feels weird, but it's definitely not cannibalism.
I guess.
That's not what this is about.
But it can easily be about it.
I specifically said this was only part of the reason I brought it up. The other part of the reason is, it caused a little bit of controversy, a little bit of a dust-up, because originally, none of the animators were credited.
Ooh, that's a bad move, Cotton.
I mean, they were listed on IMDb, don't get me wrong. It's not like it was being pretended that, oh, no, Donald Duck was just here, but for the credits of the episode, they weren't included. And that's kind of a dick move.
That is a little bit of a dick move.
But fortunately, because this is the modern days of the internet, bullying corporations can kind of work a little bit. So, they're not people, it's fine. Bully away.
Right. Indeed.
In fact, they have more rights than some people. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
And that's bad.
That's very bad.
I'm winking ironically because we're in a dystopia. We're back to dystopia. But
we indeed live in a society.
Oh god, we're like a month out from Joker 2.
Oh my god.
Anyways, point is, bullying corporations works because the animators and producers were now credited. Admittedly, it's a little late now because most of the views have been made for the video. But hey, you know what? Progress is progress.
Right.
So that's the Donald Duck Hot Ones story.
That's a sentence I never thought I would ever hear in my life.
No,
that's the
me
Donald
neither.
Duck Hot Ones story. No one has ever said that sentence before.
How does he eat does he have teeth?
I don't know. I just learned about this. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing to watch it.
Me neither, but now I'm just curious.
Oh my god, that's wild.
think it depends on who's animating him.
Fuck you.
No, I mean him having teeth.
Oh, I thought you meant me calling him wild.
No.
God almighty.
Time for some Jurassic World news, because that's what we're calling this franchise now. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So, we know that Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and, Jonathan Bailey, also in this.
Oh, okay, as I say, Chris Pratt.
No, apparently it looks like Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard aren't expected to be back for this one, or at least they're not on the released cast list.
Oh, okay.
And also, Gareth Edwards is directing, which is crazy to me.
Oh, how so?
He did The Creator.
Oh.
And Rogue One.
Okay. That's the... Alright, we have one good one kind of one.
Which almost makes me a little bit optimistic, but then, again, it's the 7th Jurassic movie.
Right.
And Mahershala Ali's good.
Oh, he's very good. He's very good at what he does.
Anyway, we also have a synopsis for the movie.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this makes me a little sad.
I thought the existence of this movie just made you sad.
It does, but especially because... Okay. 5 years after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, the planet's ecology has proven largely inhospitable to dinosaurs. Those remaining exist in isolated equatorial environments with climates resembling the one in which they once thrived. The 3 most colossal creatures within that tropical biosphere hold the key to a drug that will bring miraculous life-saving benefits to humankind. What are you talking about?
This already sounds stupid as hell.
Experienced covert operations expert Zora Bennett, played by Scarlett Johansson.
So another Black Widow role.
Yeah, is contracted to lead a skilled team on a top-secret mission to secure genetic material from the world's 3 most massive dinosaurs. When Zora's operation intersects with... Yeah?
I'm sorry, that was just such a stupid sentence.
You're right.
That's another example of no one has ever said this sentence before.
Now that I stop and look at it, that is a profoundly silly sentence.
I know these movies are always kind of silly and whatever, but come the hell on.
Get me a British accented, top hat and monocle wearing, evil scheming raptor, or get the hell out.
Yeah, honestly.
Anyways, the operation intersects a civilian family whose boating expedition was capsized by marauding aquatic reptiles. They all find themselves stranded on an island where they come face to face with a sinister, shocking discovery that's been hidden from the world for decades. And if that secret is that dinosaurs have been alive on the mainland for decades and we're just covering it up, I swear to God, I'm gonna burn... Universal is who owns this one down in the ground.
There's been this thing hidden from the population for decades. And its name is John Cena! Oh, that's just where my brain went, I'm sorry.
Sentient raptor. Do it, you cowards.
Man, you know what? That would be a perfect setup for a sentient talking raptor, honestly.
You're right.
Yeah,
oh my God.
There's no excuse at that point. Because it's one of those things where it's like, alright, you can't come up with anything more ridiculous, so you might as well just... Fast and Furious literally shot a Pontiac Fiero into space. I feel like in terms of ridiculousness in movies that people constantly make fun of you for, you have full permission to just go balls to the wall at that point.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Oh, also, you know what I think pisses me off the most about this? Jurassic World Dominion said it was going to be about dinosaurs on the mainland. That was going to be the big conflict. And lo and behold, nope, it's actually a swarm of Cretaceous locusts and corporate greed that's the problem. The dinosaurs are fine. So then I thought, you know, maybe they'll explore it in future movies or something. And now it's, oh no, most of the dinosaurs are just living in the tropics because they can't survive in most of the world. Well, fuck me! You have the most interesting premise on this stupid Jurassic planet! And you're not even exploring it! You're just looking for an excuse to go back to, let's just trek around in the woods again!
Don't call it Jurassic Planet, that'll give them even more ideas.
It's literally called Jurassic World! What else would it be? What are we gonna do? Jurassic Galaxy?
I mean, it would just be...
Oh, now I've got a raptor in a Star-Lord jacket dancing.
You have said it, you have now willed it into existence. Guardians of the Dino Galaxy.
Hey! Just oh, man.
Or whatever noises dinosaurs make, I suppose.
This comes out the same month as Superman and Fantastic Four.
Really?
I hope this buries them both. I hope they both bury them. I hope they both bury this one. Is the yeah.
Yeah, is what you're trying to say. It's like you're not trying to root for this movie.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's going to be buried by that, because I feel like if you're releasing a movie, you probably don't release on the same month of the two most anticipated superhero movies of that year. But that's just me.
I don't know if they are. I don't know if they are, because Fantastic Four, yeah, the brand holds a lot of power, but the movies haven't done that great. Sure, this one's Marvel Studios, but audiences aren't necessarily guaranteed to turn out for those, at least not like they used to, and there's, again, a number of factors there, and most of it has to do with, the pandemic fucking things up.
Right.
And an actor's strike where that didn't happen.
I was going to say, by proxy, the actor's strike, too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons for that. And DC, also spotty, but Superman is still Superman. So...
Yeah, that's... Again, that's a bad month for a movie like that, either way.
I want to say this gets buried, but also I'm pretty sure the last one made over $1 billion, so... It did, what the hell? Fucking Joker-saurus.
With what kind of budget, though?
Great question. $265. You should have spent an extra $100. You should have spent an extra $100, and then it'd be $365 mil.
Right.
Because that's when the dinosaur... No, wait. No, I'm mixing that up. When did dinosaurs die out?
100 million years ago?
No, I think it was 65 mil. Nope, I'm an idiot.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I'm dumb. I was off by 200 already.
Oh, boy.
But, you all knew that.
Aw.
I'm gonna move on now.
Yes.
Because I got Marvel news. A deleted scene has been revealed from Deadpool and Wolverine by none other than Ryan Reynolds himself.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and if you don't want to get spoiled at all on Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm sorry, but the movie's weeks old at this point, so maybe skip to the next section. But, the deleted scene is nothing huge. It's Gambit in Cassandra Nova's courtyard, functionally, walking around after having beaten the shit out of all those guys. And then he turns to see something implied to be a Marvel Sparkle Circle, with the implication being he got out of the void. Which is good. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand why it was cut, because it was already addressed at the end when Deadpool was talking with B-15, and it's implied that the others got out of the void anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The thing is, now people are going nuts with speculation of, oh, does this mean he's gonna be back for Secret Wars? Oh, what if we get that Gambit movie after all? Ooh, they should give the others a set of special presentations showing what they've been up to. Guys, shut the fuck up and let something end for once in your fucking lives!
Yeah, because the whole thing about that was that all the cameos were supposed to be really special in their own ways, largely because of how long, for at least two of them, how long it had been since we've seen them on the big screen, and for a third, because a general acknowledgement of its existence.
Yeah,
there doesn't need to be more.
Don't get me wrong. I'm very happy for him that he got the opportunity to play Gambit. I understand this role meant a lot to him. I understand he was really pulling for it, and I understand that it sucks that studio purchasing and corporate deals and what have you mess that up.
Right.
But this was a good send-off. This was an opportunity to showcase, yeah, that's a fun little nod, and it gives you the opportunity to play the character while also getting to cathartically work out the frustration that I'm sure came as a result of not being able to play that character for years.
Oh yeah, all of which was very much accentuated in Gambit's very heavy Louisiana accent.
They call me the Gambit.
You know, I enjoyed every second of that, but I did go, it's like, I might have to rewatch this movie with subtitles to get all of the jokes that Gambit made.
Right? Ooh, I'm about to make a name for myself here. But the whole thing that the others, which they need a better name, but that's what I'm calling them, were after,
right,
was an ending, because they didn't get a chance to fight for their universes before they were unceremoniously dumped in the void because of corporate mergers. I mean, because of the TVA.
Because of corporate... We interrupt this broadcast.
So the whole point was giving them that send-off and giving them that opportunity to obtain closure.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing them all back is just
the opposite of that.
I am so not looking forward to Secret Wars, because I feel like that's all Secret Wars is gonna be. It's just gonna be, oh hey, look, here's a bunch of action figures of all the Marvel characters who couldn't cross over before, and now we're slamming them together, making them punch each other. And I know, it sounds cool on paper, but guys, what we want is not always a good idea.
I feel like it would also be a monumental tease, because it's one of those things where if they get all these extra characters, including characters that they didn't really think about, then you're going to get a whole thing of people going like, oh, we should have this and that and the other and whoever else. It's like, no, no.
Especially because, and this is rampant speculation on my part, but I have a sneaking suspicion the multiverse is not really going to be a thing after Secret Wars.
No, I don't see them carrying on this whole multiverse thing deeply after that.
Partly because audiences have expressed that they're getting kind of sick of it, which is ironic because the best performing Marvel projects are all the ones with the fucking let's bring in actors who play these characters in other movies.
Yeah.
The irony is palpable.
A little bit.
But also because I feel like they probably acknowledge that this is a concept with limited shelf life before everything starts to feel meaningless. Case in point, how do you attach stakes to these characters when you can just pull a replacement from the multiverse? Deadpool and Wolverine did a good job. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Endgame did a good job, but you can only pull that trick so many times. So I feel like what they're going to do is Secret Wars is going to end with one combined Earth where maybe the Infinity Saga and the Multiverse Saga still happen, but now the Fantastic Four and mutants have always been there, and also maybe Steve Rogers and Tony Stark are back, and maybe some of the big players who have been around for a bit have also been recast, and they're all played by younger people now, so you can have all the characters interact.
And this new Earth is called Battle World.
But once you start opening those floodgates, it's not gonna stop.
No.
You already gave Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield a good send-off in Spider-Man No Way Home. And don't get me wrong, would I like a Spider-Man 4? Would I like an Amazing Spider-Man 3? Well, I'd like a Spider-Man 4. But
yeah.
No offense to Andrew Garfield, you were great in No Way Home, but the Amazing Spider-Man movies were never good, and frankly, I don't want a third one. A third one's just gonna be bad again.
Right, yeah.
He'll turn in a good performance, but I don't see it being any good with the mess it was left in. But
the movie will be bad, and it won't have anything to do with Andrew Garfield's performance.
Giving them that send-off, and giving Wesley Snipes Blade, Jennifer Garner Elektra, Channing Tatum Gambit, all these send-offs, only to then bring them back for Secret Wars, you're just opening the door for none of this ever ends, and fans are just gonna keep demanding that these characters come back, and you don't have a leg to stand on to say, no, their story's over, because you already said, no, their story's over, and went back on it. Hell, you were like, Robert Downey Jr.'s out of the MCU. Oh, wait a minute!
There's more!
Frustrating. Let things end. And I know it's ironic of me to say that to a franchise that's been going for 15 years now.
Which is terrifying.
Which is terrifying. But the MCU was really more a collection of different franchises that crossed over with each other. But now it's starting to feel like just one big unified thing because these stories aren't necessarily getting their continuations in a timely fashion. So it's just frustrating. No more Channing Tatum Gambit. Please, just let it go.
Insert clip of Tom Servo just going, and!
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's go to trailer time.
Let's do trailer time.
It's trailer time again. We've got movie previews to watch. It's trailer time again. So we got a couple of public domain horror movie trailers this week. First of which is Screamboat.
I think this looks dumb. That is the description for both of these movies that we're going to talk about, but God, this looks dumb.
No, Screamboat in particular looks dumb, and not even in the... It's probably because they barely showed us anything, but that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Because that makes me suspect that there's not going to be an awful lot of Monstrous Steamboat Willie in this movie about Monstrous Steamboat Willie.
The only thing that got me in this trailer was at the very end of it, when a woman in a very scared and pained voice just goes, "It's the happiest place on earth." It's like, oh, that's good. I can't believe they got away with that.
I kind of hated that, if I'm honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just kind of a thing of, alright, I get it, you're doing this because Disney doesn't have the rights anymore, maybe don't poke the bear.
Yeah, or poke the mouse in this case.
Not because I have any issue with poking the bear on Disney, but because Disney is kind of fucking petty.
Disney is very petty.
So don't give them more of an excuse to come after you, because I'm sure even though this movie is public domain, they're gonna try. Even though the concept is now public domain, I'm sure they're gonna try, is the more appropriate way to word that. So I don't know, it's just, if you're gonna do something, If you're gonna take this thing and turn it into a horror parody, you could at least be less blatantly, we're doing this because legally nobody can stop us about it.
Yeah, because at that point it's just a thing of like, yeah, we're doing it because we can and no one can stop us. Oh, it's a little on the nose, isn't it? Yeah, that's cool and all, but that kind of makes it feel like the only reason like you said, the only reason they're doing this is because you can, not because there was an actual thought out and expanded upon idea originally.
Yeah, it's a case of, do you actually have a story to tell with this? Do you have some interesting idea, some hook? Nah, it's just because Steamboat Willie's public domain. Great. Cool.
Right.
Blood and Honey had that reason to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Blood and Honey actually felt like an interesting perversion of a childhood mascot into something...
Yeah.
Oh, I think about it, and...
Oh boy.
That was an interesting choice of words.
Yes, it was, but it's one of those things like, was that a good choice of words? Not at all. Was it still correct? Yes.
Yeah.
By definition of all the words used, that was the most correct description of Blood and Honey I can think of.
Yeah, I'm just remembering the point where Pooh ends up, I think, kind of accidentally ripping that girl's shirt off before shoving her in the wood chipper.
Yeah.
But the point is, that movie still had more... That movie made its reason to exist more apparent than Screamboat has so far.
Right.
And there's time to change, and I'm still gonna check it out, because, frankly, fuck Disney a little bit.
Yeah, and also a sucker for punishment.
I'm a sucker for punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly not that much, because I didn't see Afraid this week, but I was busy.
Right, fair.
But, yeah, I don't know. I hope there's something more here. I want there to be a concept.
Need something to work with.
Yeah, give me something to break.
Right. Something to break besides your head.
So then we also got a trailer for Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare, and Blood and Honey this ain't.
No, I will say, so here's the thing, this also looks really damn stupid. But the bit where Peter Pan is on the bus and just in a very deep voice goes, "Who wants to go to Neverland?" I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually kind of good.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty damn good. That's genuinely terrifying.
I feel like the big issue here is that this Peter Pan doesn't really seem to have any of the iconography that makes it recognizably a Peter Pan, which I understand you can't do because that specific association with the green tights or whatever I'm pretty sure is still in copyright.
Really?
I think Peter Pan as a story is in public domain, but I think the
character is still copyrighted.
That specific design sense of the character. It's like how Mickey Mouse is public domain, but literally only in a Steamboat Willie form.
Okay.
It's like that. I don't think the green, tight, and cap-wearing with a red feather in it Peter Pan is public domain. I think just the story of the Lost Boys and Neverland and all that is public domain. But
okay.
There's no sign of Hook. We don't actually really see any of Neverland. It's just a case of, I honestly can't tell if sending them to Neverland is just a euphemism for killing them.
My brain was kind of going, I wonder if there's going to be a Tinkerbell in this and how she plays out.
I don't think is Tinkerbell public domain?
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, Google's AI overview says no, but I don't trust that. Tinkerbell is public domain, but again, the most iconic design is still under copyright, so...
Oh, okay.
Because it's not like Winnie the Pooh, where you can make that semi-distinctive looking bear mask and people recognize it as Winnie the Pooh, and it's not like Bambi the Reckoning, where, okay, maybe it doesn't look like the Disney Bambi, but it's a giant deer mucking stuff around. Bambi's one of the first places your brain is going to go when you think deer.
Right.
So, that's... whatever. With this, I don't feel like this is necessarily a Peter Pan movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of got a similar problem as Screamboat. A little bit less because we actually get some action in it, but it's still a case of, did you watch Longlegs? This feels a little bit Longlegs, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I've not seen Longlegs. I think I've only seen, or if I have seen Longlegs, I don't remember a lot of it.
You did not see it.
Oh yeah, no, I did not see it, that's right.
No, I was solo on that one.
Right. I don't know why I thought I saw it then.
But no, it looks bad, don't get me wrong. I was gonna say it doesn't look bad, and then I thought, bad's relative.
Yeah, bad is subjective, and subjectively this looks bad.
But I'm all in on this Pooh-niverse setup, so...
Oh, it still sounds gross to hear it.
That's why I put the very long pause. It's why there's a very protracted gap between the two parts of that phrase.
It sounds pooey.
Yeah, but it's better than the alternative.
Fair.
So I'm still all in on this concept. I want to see where this goes. But this is feeling distinctly like the Iron Man 2 of the bunch. Just from the trailer alone, at least.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now, moving into... I shouldn't say actual movies, but moving into movies that are...
Moving into movies that we kind of give more of a shit about.
Yeah. I don't usually put documentaries on here. Because I don't usually watch documentaries, because I'm just not particularly interested in them. It's always a struggle for me to pay attention. But Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, is probably gonna be an exception.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't know a lot about Christopher Reeve outside of him being Batman. Not Batman. Holy shit.
He's Batman.
Outside of him being the Caped Crusader, because he never was. Wow, that's a great way to start talking about a really emotional trailer for probably a very emotional...
Let me tell you, my favorite bit of Michael Keaton's Superman is when he went, "You wanna get nuts? Come on! Let's get nuts!"
Oh god, why am I like this? I genuinely had no idea that he got into a horsing accident, and that's what caused all of that.
Oh yeah, I did know that part, and I knew that he became a disability activist after that, but only on a surface level. Was I aware. Not that he only did it on a surface level.
Yeah. I am interested in this just because I just don't know anything about this man and his life, and watching the trailer for this made me significantly more interested in that, in all honesty.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I don't know how I feel about the heavy use of the iconography of his performance as Superman in this. But I guess, to be fair, that is a big chunk of what makes the story so inspirational, and the fact that his family is involved in this documentary gives me some hope that this is done to an extent that they are comfortable with. And therefore, that hopefully he was comfortable with.
Yeah, having all the family members there having bits to say and whatnot. It's like, alright, that's encouraging, because it's like, having actual family there, I mean, usually you feel like for documentaries about a specific human being, their family would be there. But it is definitely the feeling of, okay, the family definitely has a more deep involvement in this than you would see in like a lot of other documentaries and whatnot. To a certain degree, it kind of reminds me of, I know you're not a sports or racing person deeply, but it gave me vibes of the Michael Schumacher documentary, because a big part of that documentary had bits from his family. And, well, for the uninitiated, Michael Schumacher is a 7-time Formula 1 champion who got into a horrific skiing accident in 2011, I want to say, well, after he retired from the sport. No one knows exactly what happened, but it's believed that he lost balance, tumbled down a mountain while skiing, and hit his head square on a rock.
Oh.
And the family has been extremely private about how he's doing, but it's genuinely believed that he is pretty much nonverbal, very low function. Like, he's effectively a husk. And the documentary about him goes into like his time going up the ranks of racing and his time with family and all that. And it's very clear that, especially because of how private Michael Schumacher's family is when it comes to his condition, they are very, very, very involved. And I feel like for movies and documentaries that go that angle, who actually have direct, deep involvement from families, rather than just being like, hey, come in, say a few things about this guy that we're talking about. For me, at least, that usually makes for better and more palpable documentaries in the end. So that encourages me for this one.
Yeah, definitely. So this apparently is going to have a limited release. I think might only be on the 21st and 25th.
Boo.
Right?
I could see this getting a proper theatrical release and doing very, very well. Honestly. That's the vibe I get from it.
It's still a documentary.
Mm.
So I'm not super surprised at going limited with it. Especially because
Fair.
that helps, from a cynical perspective, that does kind of help drum up the engagement.
Right.
But I definitely want to try and check this out.
Yeah.
Also, you know what really shook me was seeing Robin Williams in there.
Yeah, when that happened, I was just like, oh shit, okay, we're going deep in the archives for this.
Man, I miss Robin Williams.
Oh, immensely.
So then, finally, although this was actually the earliest thing to drop this week, we got a trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
You know, I'm gonna be honest, I am not completely sold on Keanu Reeves being Shadow for this.
Okay, you watch your mouth?
No, it's really unfortunate for me because it's not that Keanu's doing a bad job. Like, if anything, he does a great job. But it's hearing his voice and seeing Sonic's face. There's a part of it that just goes, it's like, seeing Shadow's face. Jesus Christ.
Congratulations, you too can live in the Sonic universe.
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
In Sonic Adventure 2, there was a whole thing where people kept mixing up Sonic and Shadow.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, Shadow broke into a secure gun facility or a bank or something and stole a Chaos Emerald, and Sonic ended up taking the heat for it, even from the government who knew that Shadow existed. Which, okay,
Nice.
maybe you can spin that as the government was trying to cover up that Shadow got out, so they picked Sonic as the fall guy. But then you run into a problem where Shadow is standing in a military base in broad daylight, and Amy Rose, professed to be in love with Sonic the Hedgehog, sees him
Before
from behind.
being shot up by the government.
No, that's Maria Robotnik.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah. Nah, I don't mess with Sonic lore, alright? So...
That's fair.
So Amy Rose sees this obviously not Sonic Hedgehog in broad daylight. From behind, but come on, he's still a completely different color, and his quills move a different way.
This is the literal embodiment of one's blue.
Yeah, no, so she actually gets close enough to hug him before realizing it's not Sonic. And that has offended me to this day, because as you say, it's literally just one of my favorite quotes from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is Rocket going, "One's blue!" With just the most offended look on his face. That is how I feel about that one scene, but it doesn't matter for this purpose, for this movie, because Amy doesn't seem to be in it.
Are we sure it's not confirmed canonically that Amy is colorblind?
Maybe she is, I don't know, can hedgehogs... No, Sonic knows Shadow is black, it can't be a hedgehog thing.
Right.
Huh.
But it's a thing, going back to the original thing before I made another faux pas in this recording, it's a thing of, God, your voice is so good, but you sound a little bit too much like John Wick right now. That's my thing, and I guess it's a problem with disassociation, but it is a thing of like, no, you've got the cool, angry voice going. I know that Shadow is a cool, angry character and all that, but there's a part of my brain that just can't mesh with it very well, unfortunately.
I mean, he is basically John Wick in his first appearance, at least. I mean, goes on a rampage of revenge, in John Wick's case because somebody killed his dog, in Shadow's case because somebody shot his human sidekick.
Shot by the government.
Yeah, extrajudicially assassinated by the government.
It would be very funny. I don't know if this is how it happens in the Sonic lore, but it would be kind of funny, to me personally, if she ends up getting killed in this movie and she's killed by Gunn.
Oh no, that's what happened in the games.
Oh, is it now?
It was Gunn that did it.
Okay. And also, I'm hoping, please tell me that someone in the games called out how their acronym literally spells out gun.
No, never brought up.
That's annoying.
Yeah. But no, I'm looking forward to this. I think Keanu Reeves is doing a great job as Shadow. I think it's the way the line is edited into the trailer, but when he says, "You're a colorful bunch," there's something weird about it.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But I think it's an editing problem. At least I hope it's an editing problem. I can already see this is going to be, okay, Sonic's going to have to undergo does he change who he is? Does he embrace his darker path when confronted with the fact that maybe Shadow has a point about some monstrous shit that's been done to him?
Does he embrace the dark side?
And then halfway through, it feels like it turns into a completely different movie when they go to recruit Robotnik, and then it turns right back into the movie they were first showing the trailer about.
Yeah.
Once it stops for Robotnik to get a haircut, I'm like, oh, is this is still going, huh? Huh.
I need room. It's like, sir, there's no more materials. I found some. That was the thing. Like, all right, this is slightly drawn out. I will say, one thing I did kind of like and slightly appreciate is the incredibly orchestral Sonic theme.
Oh, I'm so glad we finally have Live and Learn. If that wasn't in the movie, I was gonna burn down Paramount.
But not literally.
Not literally, but, you know, a little bit literally, but...
Figuratively, literally.
Figure literally.
Yes.
Literally. But no, I'm happy to hear that. I've seen some speculation that Tom's gonna die in this one, and I don't see it.
I don't see it either. Now, I don't see it, but I would say that would be kind of a really good catalyst to have Sonic kind of like embrace his darker side as well, if that's what they're going for.
Yeah, but on the one hand, the most likely option is that Shadow does it, and I don't think you can have Shadow kill James Marsden and still remain a vaguely sympathetic character.
I mean, I'm laughing because the idea of that sounds absolutely fucking hilarious to me. I think that would be the equivalent of how you laughed at Cruella's mom getting killed by dogs.
Yeah, no, it'd be a little bit funny, but the problem is, this is a franchise-driven film series, and Shadow is like the easiest character in the world to spin off into his own set of movies, maybe with Team Dark, or into his own Paramount Plus series. Hopefully that's more featured around him, and...
Right.
I don't see the audience getting behind that when he killed Donut Lord. So I think maybe Tom gets injured, but not killed. Or somebody else does it. Maybe Gerald Robotnik, who's also played by Jim Carrey, and I don't know how I feel about him being alive.
Oh, that's... I thought they got someone else for that, honestly.
Really?
A little bit.
No, that was clearly Jim Carrey.
Well, I'll be honest, my brain was like, I'm pretty sure that's Jim Carrey, but I want to believe that was another actor.
Nope, Jim Carrey. So, I think this is gonna end one of two ways. I'm gonna put my stamp down here.
Okay.
Either the villain is Gerald Robotnik.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimate villain is Gerald Robotnik, probably with Eggman turning on the heroes to help him. And Shadow having to make a choice. And then, Shadow decides to stand with Sonic and Tails and Knuckles because the Robotniks aren't living up to Maria's memory. And then they offer Shadow, hey, come stay with our family. And he's like, nah, I'm gonna go be on a motorcycle or something. And that happens and sets him up for spin-off stuff or to come back in a Sonic 4. Or the main bad guy is a completely unknown third party, maybe the Bio-Lizard.
Okay.
That requires the Robotniks and Sonic and Shadow to stay teamed up, at which point Shadow goes off with the Robotniks. But I predict one of those two things.
I feel like the former is probably a little bit more likely.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the fact that Gerald's even still alive is a little weird.
Right.
Or, who knows, maybe Gerald's the main bad guy in conjunction with the Bio-Lizard and Eggman, and Shadow stay on the good guy's side to stop him. It happened in Sonic Adventure 2.
Okay.
We'd be one Rouge the Bat away from the complete roster in that case, which is a little bit frustrating, but I get it when you have to add in Shadow and Gerald Robotnik and Maria, and also, I assume a take on the Space Colony arc, except now it was under the ocean.
Wait, the Space Colony arc?
Yeah, so that's where Shadow was created in the games. It's an orbital colony around the Earth that contains a planet-busting cannon in it.
Okay.
But I think in this instance, it's that ship that's rising out of the ocean, because a pre-existing space colony would be a little far-fetched and a little far removed from the, oh yeah, this was our world and only got nuts when Sonic showed up, although Shadow already kind of makes that impossible.
Took care of that. Right.
And it also works from the perspective of, oh, it's called the Ark, but now it's underwater.
Right.
But maybe it also goes into space, who knows?
With a Pontiac Fiero.
With a Pontiac Fiero. Also, Shadow's on the bike. I shouldn't be excited about that because Shadow on a motorcycle is the stupidest thing on the planet.
Yeah, because it's like he runs it, he teleports.
He teleports and he can move at the speed of sound like Sonic, but it's so damn cool.
You're right.
I literally just feel like a Bridge Vegeta watching Broly power up, going, "He's so damn cool." As long as he doesn't pick up a gun, I'm fine. Once he picks up a gun, it's over.
They're gonna have him pick up a gun.
Probably.
You know it's gonna happen.
Probably. But no, I think that I'm very excited for this. I cannot wait. I'm so happy I can see this instead of Mufasa, because god damn it.
Right.
Hanging on the edge of tomorrow, indeed. Let's go to box office.
Let's do the box office.
We did see the high... It's still Deadpool Wolverine.
Yeah, really?
Yep. Still Deadpool Wolverine.
That's actually a little crazy. Okay.
$15.1 million domestic weekend, $603.7 million domestic total, and $1.26 billion worldwide. Yeah, I definitely don't think it's beaten Inside Out 2 at this point.
Well, wasn't there a thing recently? I could have sworn I saw a thing where Inside Out 2 actually became the highest grossing animated feature movie this week.
Right, thank God, it beat The Lion King.
It beat photorealistic CGI Lion King.
Yes. Ugh.
Everything is right in the world again.
It's really astounding how most of the reactions I've been seeing are, I don't get why it's Inside Out 2, but I'm glad it's not The Lion King.
I don't know if I agree with that. Inside Out 2, granted, I haven't seen The Lion King, but Inside Out 2 is genuinely very good.
Inside Out 2 is solid, but I don't know that... Obviously, box office isn't a total correlation to quality, but I can think of quite a few more movies that I think would deserve to have made $1 billion more.
Right.
Well, okay, would have deserved to make $1.6 billion. Which is where I think Inside Out 2 is at. No, but the movie we saw this weekend, 1992, that took 14th place.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, $1.4 million domestic weekend. I think it's sitting at about $1.6 million right now. I can't find the budget. I assume higher than that, though.
Yeah, I mean, it did not look like a low-budget movie at all. Maybe lower budget than a major, AAA studio release, but not low budget by any stretch.
Yeah. If nothing else, I would assume casting Ray Liotta and Tyrese Gibson and Scott Eastwood would have...
bumped up the budget a good bit.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, this movie is a drama film and also kind of a heist film, and it's set during the 1992 Los Angeles riots. Tyrese Gibson is the main character, Mercer, who is...
a former Crip.
Oh, he's a Crip.
I mean, so I want to say, based on what happens in the movie, it's heavily implied that he's a former Crip gang boss.
Okay.
The long and short of it is that Tyrese plays Mercer, former gangbanger. Because of various factors and whatnot, he's put in a position where he has to raise his estranged son, Antoine, played by Christopher Emmanuel. It's a struggle, but meanwhile, during all of this, he's having to deal with the new challenge of raising his kid, while also dealing with the racial tension going on within Los Angeles at this time in the wake of the Rodney King trials. Yeah?
For historical context, because that was 32 years ago at this point, good God.
Yes, yeah, oh my god.
Hell, that predates us, so...
That does predate us, but sits with me in particular a little bit more.
I imagine. Do you want to take it, or should I?
No, I'll take it. So for the uninitiated, the Los Angeles riots were caused by a bunch of different things, but the main catalyst was the acquittal of 4 police officers recorded very, very violently beating Rodney King after he had been pulled over from a high-speed police pursuit. And say what you will about Rodney King and his criminal history or anything like that, because that is a thing. It was very much just pure on full 100% police brutality, which was recorded, put out to the public, seen on media, and all 4 officers were acquitted of the trial by an all-white jury. Needless to say, based on that, other factors, including the very deteriorating relationship between the LAPD and the black community in Los Angeles at that point, people, kind of understandably, were fed up. And riots broke out that lasted for almost an entire week. It got to the point where the National Guard was actually called in to quell the riots. It was bad. It was very bad. And the effects of that riot and the Rodney King trial and all that are still very much felt today, regardless of how many people try to argue that it hasn't. But yeah, that serves as the backdrop for this movie, because Tyrese Gibson as Mercer is trying to raise his son, who is kind of fed up with the situation that he's in, because basically, well, without spoiling anything about the main plot that we're going to get to, he doesn't like that he's having to be raised by his very estranged father, who it has to be assumed he hasn't seen in forever, who's ever been a major factor of his life because of unforeseen and out of both parties' controlled circumstances, while in the same time being surrounded by the seedy underbelly of South Central Los Angeles, gangs, Bloods and Crips, violence and all that, while also being surrounded by and taking in the ever so increasing tension in Los Angeles at this point.
I would assume, based on, because Antoine brings up that he's not really allowed to hang out with anybody, it's just come straight home, and that also carries into the first day that we actually see the movie go on.
Yeah.
I'd assume it's because of the uncertainty revolving around the Rodney King verdict, and then, of course, once the verdict is handed down, the inevitable and cathartic backlash that comes as a result of that, although also, to an extent, very self-destructive.
Yes, and it's kind of a... Oh god, how do I kind of explain this? One of the things that has been talked about often by people who lived in South Central at this time, and especially by like rappers and whatnot in their music, is the whole thing of Antoine talks about wanting to go out and explore the world and see more of the city because he doesn't have any friends in this new environment. Whereas Mercer, being a former gangbanger, it's not really explicitly said in the movie, but I feel like part of it as well is the thing of, no, all that's really outside of our world is more gangbanging, and it's really easy for young boys who are fed up with their home life to get mixed in that. Because it is. It really is.
I imagine so.
Yeah, so there's probably a worry about that too. And it's kind of, while not explicitly stated, brought up more in the movie as we find out more about Mercer and his life and his reputation before the events of the movie itself. And also, because we haven't really mentioned it, there's also a heist in this.
Yeah, there's a heist movie going on, and I'll say it's not as good.
No, it's really not.
I think this is a pretty damn good movie. It certainly caught my interest, but most of my interest is in the drama elements of Mercer trying to connect with his son and trying to navigate through the lead up to and then the first night of these riots and trying to keep his son safe and trying to keep his son from falling into the same patterns that led to his presumed incarceration and the situation that he's in at this point.
And that's a really unfortunate part too, because after I saw this movie, I thought about it for the last couple of days, and it's a thing of, I know you said it's like you weren't crazy about the heist bits, and I'm just sitting, I would go a step further and say, this movie's already good, it's genuinely solid. It would be a lot better if the heist bit just wasn't there. I can actually see a really good movie being made with this kind of general premise, as far as Tyrese Gibson battling with his son on a conflict of philosophies, for lack of a better term, because Mercer is having to raise his son while trying to teach his son. It's like, this whole thing of everything about me and the gang banging and the Crips and the Bloods and all that, this is not anything you want to get into, while also having a battle with his son about how his son, being a young teenager, doesn't want to stay holed up in his house all the time. He wants to go out, he wants to explore, he wants to see new things, especially being in a city that he doesn't know anything about with people he's never met before. And there's honestly a setup for a really good, heartfelt drama movie in this. And I feel like even the conflict, because it would be one of those things where there would be a major conflict that would kind of shift things in one direction or another, and you could do that and still have it be good, while also not being a kind of, I don't want to say half-assed, but definitely all over the place major heist. It could be something more smaller, more focused, more in line with the actual riots that are going on outside, and it would work just as well, if not better.
The best analogy I can think of for this movie, and I was thinking about it quite a bit, and I'm kind of disappointed that this is the best I could come up with, but
okay,
the two elements of this film are more like chocolate and cheese than chocolate and peanut butter.
Ugh. That's...
It doesn't not work, but one element is clearly doing the heavy lifting, and it would probably be better if you just had more of that element.
Yeah, cheese and chocolate are good on their own, but together, that's... I guess it depends on the cheese and chocolate, but I don't see any universe. Yeah, I don't see any universe where those two go well together. Oof.
No, it can happen. It can happen. It's just, it's not the natural synergy of chocolate and peanut butter, and that's a damn shame, because I'm all for genre blending. I'm all for combining elements of different types of films that don't usually go together and see what happens, but in this particular case, one part is just better done, and the second part, I don't want to say that the heist is completely unnecessary, because it is there for a thematic parallel, because Ray Liotta is playing the dad, and then he's bringing his sons in on this, so there's a parallel here of dads in a life of crime, and how do you raise your kids in that environment, with Mercer representing the side of isolate yourself, remove yourself from that criminal environment, and do your best to make sure your son doesn't fall into it, whereas Ray Liotta's character Lowell represents embrace it, bring your kids into it, make them part of the business, and the disastrous consequences that result, and honestly the difficulties of both sides.
Yeah.
but one side is just better.
Yeah, one side is just objectively better.
And I'm so surprised to say that when the element that's better is the one involving Tyrese Gibson.
Which, Tyrese Gibson genuinely does a very good job in this movie. It's nice to see him do good in something that isn't him being the bad funny man in Fast and Furious.
Or the functionally non-existent character in Morbius.
Yeah. Oh god, God, he really was not in that movie at all. What even was the point of him being there?
No, this is the movie that reminded me he's an actor.
And he actually can be a very good actor at that too. You can empathize with his character and everything he's feeling. You can empathize with his relationship with both his son and with the other people around him because, like I mentioned earlier, it's established that he's a criminal, and his criminal past comes up in ways and interactions that kind of make you go, yeah, I get it, man. I understand why you do that, why you're doing what you're doing, and I can understand your decision-making and your thought process there, and how he reacts to elements of his past as well. Tyrese Gibson is genuinely very good in this movie.
Yeah, he carries the role with a lot of gravitas and a lot of humanity behind it, and a detached sort of humanity, the kind where you can tell he's just trying to get by and he's just trying to live his life, but it's the kind of life where you just do your job, you go home, you don't really
interact,
But he still has those moments, like talking with the security guard.
Yeah.
You can tell there's a genuine sense of they appreciate each other there.
Especially since the security guard, it's established... Well, actually, no, that's another spoiler. That kind of plays into a lot of the overarching theme of this movie, because I imagine we're going to have a spoiler section for this.
Probably.
Yeah. I don't know. This movie's good. This movie's a good time.
It's another instance where it really starts to drag at the end. When I say the heist elements aren't as good, I don't just mean because they feel out of place. I also mean the action's not the greatest.
Yeah.
A lot of the close-up action shots are kind of hard to follow and shot in a way where they're a little disorienting. Which is a real problem for something where it's like, okay, this is clearly meant to be the actual... I don't want to speculate as to who was responsible, but the heist elements almost feel like a studio note.
They kind of do. I get the feeling that either the heist elements were a studio note, or it was one of those things where someone was trying to figure out how to have a conflict point that serves as a catalyst for character development in this movie and certain reactions from the characters themselves. And it was a thing of, I don't know, I wasn't in the writer's room, obviously, so this is all, like, speculation on my part, but it almost feels like the writer's room had this whole heist on the board, but it's like, alright, we have this, but we really need to see if we can come up with something genuinely better that works a lot better to kind of tie everything together and keeps the audience engaged. And maybe it was one of those things where they ran through a few things, but nothing worked quite as well, or had the general, like, overarching impact as a heist aspect, because with what this movie is and with the subject matter it's going into, it does talk about the thing of racial inequality, what it's like to be, especially at this point in America, being black in America, how interactions between colored people and the police and all that kind of stuff, and how they're just generally seen overall. And it's a thing of, like, all of those are messages and very important messages, but someone was probably like, okay, yeah, but we need a hook so that people don't, I don't know, say that we're being, what's the phrase that people try to use? Not woke.
No, I think that's it.
Well, yeah, I don't want to say woke, because woke is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, synonym for standing on a soapbox, I guess.
Pandering?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, we don't want people to think that we're pandering here.
It kind of feels like somebody went, well, we've got Ray Liotta, and we need to use him. And...
yeah.
Because it's so weird to me that in this movie, set around these riots where there's all kinds of danger, and there's all kinds of opportunities for obstacles, just in that you decide that a good chunk of the movie needs to be devoted to a completely unrelated heist that is just using the riots as a cover to pull it off.
And that's the thing that kind of bugs me about why they do that. You literally have the riots. You have one of the most significant events of just public anger in American history until George Floyd happened. Because, once again, some people are like, oh, this isn't a thing anymore, points at George Floyd's corpse and everything that happened following that.
Disgusting.
But it's a thing of, you have something to work with just in the riots themselves, and you have plenty of points of interest and potential conflict just from the riot that could easily weave its way into the lives of these two, of our main characters, and still work overall.
Hell, you want Ray Liotta to be an antagonist in this? You could have had him be a cop.
You could have had him be a cop who's just, like, stalking these guys. And honestly, that's kind of a thing, too, because Ray Liotta is wonderfully hateable in this movie.
Yeah, and the movie doesn't even... I don't think this is a spoiler. The movie doesn't even shy away from going, yeah, some of these cops fucking suck.
Yes.
It's just, the more I think about it, the more baffling it is that they chose to do this whole heist setup, because there's just no need for it.
Yeah. There's so many other things that would feel more focused and more down to earth with this movie that would work just as well, if not better. And you could still have Ray Liotta play this because he is just the most unabashed bastard.
Yeah, and he starts off almost reasonable, but he gradually gets slimier and slimier so that by the end, well, we'll get to that.
Yes, we'll get to that, but we did...
I'm gonna cut that part, because that's the secret.
That's fair, but it's still funny.
Yeah. No, it's funny, I had this lower on my ranked list for 2024 at first. I think I had it close to the 30 spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went, the heist elements really do drag it down, but there's at least some attempt at a thematic parallel there. And and the drama stuff is just so good. So you know what? Yeah, and now I've got it right between Abigail and Maxine.
Fair.
Which doesn't sound very high because it's in the 20s, but again, I've seen 50-something movies this year, so...
Yeah. Which is amazing, because you've seen 50-something movies, there's only 52 weeks in the year.
Yeah, I doubled up here and there. So what?
Yeah, right.
I'll probably do it some other weeks.
Right.
When I have time. Oh boy.
Mm.
Think we should move into spoilers?
Probably.
Alright. All in all, this is definitely worth watching.
This is a movie worth seeing, 100%.
Just, maybe just have your Switch handy or whatever for when it switches to the heist stuff.
Right. If you watch it at home, that is. Don't be an asshole and bring your Switch to a movie theater.
Definitely don't bring your Switch to the movie theater.
Yes.
I'll take it from you, I'll break it.
I don't know, unless you're playing MEO.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, don't bring your Switch.
I'll take it from you, I'll break it.
But do play MEO. MEO is a very enjoyable visual novel game that I've gotten surprisingly invested in.
There we go, a stirring endorsement of both 1992 and MEO The Smiling Man. So, if you don't want to get spoiled on 1992, make sure to click away in 3, 2, 1.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how many notes I was going to take for this movie, and I didn't take a lot, but when he goes into the bodega, and those two thugs start making a scene, and he tells them to knock it off, and one of them just puts their gun up to his head and goes, "How's that feel?" And just goes, "Familiar." I thought, that's fucking hard.
That is very hard.
That's a hard fucking line. That's a good fucking delivery. I respect it.
Yes, indeed. And that's kind of when it gets established, because right after Mercer says that, the leader of those two other thugs comes in and establishes that Mercer was the Crip, apparently. He was the Crip that kind of set up everything that these guys do nowadays. Which is where it's established, is like, oh yeah, he's a former gangbanger. And from there you can put the pieces together that Mercer was a former high-ranking Crip. At some point he got arrested, spent some time in jail, and after coming out of jail, just likely and understandably went, alright, this is for the birds. I can't do this no more. And at which point he tries to, put his life back together. Especially, I imagine his son becoming into his life plays a big part in that too. It's just, I can't raise my son in all of this with everything that's going on around these guys. And not only that, it's a thing where the other gangbangers that are around, some of which who know him very well, they're like, how long have you been out? I've been out for 6 months. No one told me that you were out. And Mercer just kind of shrugs at that. And it's very clearly, through, honestly, a good bit of nonverbal communication, that Mercer doesn't want to have any involvement with that life anymore. Despite the others, especially the other head honchos amongst that group of thugs, still very much looking up to him, respecting him, and wanting him to be involved in some way with their lifestyle.
Yeah, especially when he's out looking for Antoine during the riots, and they're trying to tell him, take this gun, come with us, we'll help. And he goes, you want to help? Help me find my son. It's just like, yep, good for you.
Yeah, for real. And that's kind of one of the more fun things about the movie, because a thing that's constantly heard in the background during the first half of the movie is everything about the Rodney King trials and the happenings going on in the courtroom, and which of course leads us to the point where it's announced that all 4 officers are acquitted on all but one charge of course, the charges that actually matter, being the brutal beating of Rodney King, are one of the ones that they're found not guilty on. And there is a very, very, very gradual build-up to what would ultimately become the riots breaking out in full effect. Which I honestly thought was cool and kind of liked, because I was kind of expecting the movie to just go full bore into the riots at that point. I did kind of like how they play it where there's the initial announcement of the results, and it takes a little bit of time for things to really ramp up until it gets into the night where everything has completely gone to hell.
Right. It's my understanding that's how it actually went.
I mean, that is how it happened. That's usually how it happens. But I don't know. I usually expect movies to just kind of go as like, all right, thing happened. We're going full bore now. And it's like, no, that's not really how it went. There was some build up to it.
Yeah, I respect this movie taking its time to build up to that, to establish that tension. To show, yeah, things are coming to a head, they're boiling up, and we know how it goes, but even if you know how it goes, it still gets you a little bit.
Right.
Oh, I did make a note when Ray Liotta's crew is driving to the heist, and they're talking about the riots, and Ray Liotta, who is also established to be a low-key racist piece of shit,
yes,
says, don't give them the right, it's not their property. And I just wrote, Boston Tea Party would like a word.
Yeah, for real. And, I don't know. So, one of the things about this movie is that there's a lot of, some more undertone, but a lot of in-your-face commentary about things like riots and civil unrest and stuff like that. And it's, again, kind of talking about the relationship between Black people and the country as a whole. We get things like that where there's kind of the looking from the outside in perspective of they shouldn't be destroying other people's property. And objectively, that is correct. But it also completely misses the point of why these things happen to begin with. You see, and then there's also kind of the more in-your-face things about how, as the riots are breaking out in full force, because during part of this, Mercer doesn't lose track. Antoine just leaves the house while the riots are popping off, which I'm just immediately like, oh, this kid's fucking dead. Manages to survive, which point Mercer finds him, pulls him back into his car, and the kid is arguing with Mercer about why are we just sitting here like letting this happen? We should be out there showing them how we feel and whatnot. At which point Mercer goes like, look around. Do you see any police? Do you see any ambulances? Do you see anyone here who's trying to like help or stop this? No, you don't, because this is kind of what they want. They do not give a shit about us. They are perfectly happy to just let us destroy our shit and put ourselves in an even worse position. And a few other pieces of meta commentary, especially when it comes to a particular scene where Mercer and his kid are pulled over by the police, because as the riots are breaking out, one of the things that Mercer asks, oh god, what was his name? The security guard. Because I literally just had the thing for this movie pulled up too.
I know he's played by Michael Beasley.
Yeah. Joseph, you talked earlier about how there's a sense of camaraderie and respect between Mercer and Joseph. Joseph is a former police chief within the LAPD, or at least a high-ranking officer, but he mentions that he left the force because of dirty cops making life more difficult for the good cops that he tried to be, and he's like, I couldn't stand it anymore. So, as the riots are breaking out, Mercer asks Joseph if he can bring his son to the factory that they work at, because Mercer goes like, I live like in the hood, deep in the hood. It's not safe for us there with all this going on. And they're driving to the metal plant that they work at, which ends up with a situation of Mercer and Antoine being pulled over by the police at a police roadblock, at which point Mercer says like, just don't say anything, do what they say, keep it down, which leads to a fun and wonderful confrontation.
I did say it in the non-spoiler section, but this is one of those movies that makes me feel very uncomfortable with being white.
But yeah, they get pulled over at a police roadblock, and the cops, the very white cops, just treat them completely like shit, yelling at them and all this, forcing them to come out of the vehicle, at which point Antoine very understandably goes, why? What for? You guys don't have a warrant on us. Cops are like just treating them badly. If I remember right, one actually pulls a gun on Antoine.
Yep.
And they're going about being just really shitty cops. finally, because the thing is like they're transporting like stolen contraband from the riots and whatnot. He's like, I'm just trying to get to work, man. At which point the cops clear his car, realize that he wasn't doing anything, and basically just tell him to get the fuck out of there. Oh, that's palpable. But as they're going to the metal plant that Mercer works at, that's when the heist is starting to break out, because the whole heist element of this movie is that Ray Liotta, his son Riggin, played by Scott Eastwood, and...
Who names their kid Riggin?
That's a weird name. Apparently, according to like the credits or whatever, his full name is Riggin Bigby.
Riggin Bigby?
Well, yeah, I was like, that is a hell of a last name.
Okay, you know what? That almost sounds like prep school and country club.
A little
yes.
bit.
Have you met Mr. Riggin Bigby?
Yeah, it really is a thing of the whitest name you know. But in the background, in a manner of speaking, there's a plot going down, because Riggin gives intel to his dad, Loaf, about how in the plant that Mercer works in, there is a giant shipment of platinum. And the initial plan is to just break into the facility via the side entrance, get in, steal the platinum, break into the safe that's holding the platinum, and get out and sell it for $10 million, which Lowell very honestly goes, I like $10 million, but this plan is batshit. And then a very convenient LA riot kicks off, at which point they realize, hey, this is our chance, because the plan's going to be closed. Chances are security is going to be either non-existent or very reduced, because everyone else is going to be home with their families. And chances are the riots won't get anywhere close to there, because it's a freaking industrial plant in the middle of nowhere.
As Riggin puts it, all it took was 12 racist motherfuckers in Simi Valley.
Yeah! Which was just like, it's like, ayy. So that kicks off the whole heist plan. So they get their shit together and just go to the plant to start trying to steal some platinum. And I really do want to emphasize how thematically and story-wise this heist is a big deal, but I really do want to emphasize how little I give a shit about the heist.
The only reason it matters is to establish that, at least aside from when it all boils over to a head and Mercer gets to be a kick-ass action protagonist, is that it sets up Riggin as somebody who is kind of tragically stuck in this world that his dad has brought him into, because you can tell he's not he's not the worst guy deep down.
He's still a bad guy.
But he emphatically doesn't want any casualties. Joseph ends up getting shot at near the start of the heist, despite the fact that Riggin was very much against the use of lethal force, even though Joseph was going for his gun anyway.
Yeah.
He clues into the thing that kickstarted these riots. The fact that he acknowledges it took 12 racist motherfuckers in Simi Valley is kind of like the establishing baseline of, oh, okay, you're cool. You get it.
Yeah, and also when they're driving through South Central as the riots are going down, they're talking about the riots, and Riggin just goes, like, yeah, you can't really blame them, though.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's also a thing, too, because the whole reason that Riggin is cooking up this heist to begin with is that he wants to use this heist and the mass payout that it's going to give them to get out of the game. He is actively trying to get him and his brother out of this criminal lifestyle, and he sees this heist, this $10 million heist being his ticket out, which, for the sake of clarity, how much was $10 million in 1992? Yeah, adjusted for inflation, $10 million is about $22 million today. So, a good chunk of change.
Yep.
So, he's very much, I don't want anyone to get hurt, I don't want anyone to get killed, I just want to get in, get this shit, and get out. Which does not happen, because Joseph gets shot, his buddy Murphy, I want to say it was Murphy. No, not Murphy.
His dad's buddy, not his.
Yeah, oh yeah, that is his dad's buddy. Well, who's the other guy?
I don't know. I don't care.
The one black guy that's with them.
That was Copeland.
Copeland. Wow, he's not even listed on here. That's so ridiculous.
That's yeah, no, I thought you were talking about one of his dad's thugs.
Joseph gets shot. Copeland very brutally gets his leg run over by a forklift. I honestly was shocked how little he was screaming.
Yeah.
And then just everything going awry at that point, and which leads to Copeland getting his leg very forcefully, well, we don't see it, but very forcefully and very haphazardly amputated. And then, of course, all the fighting that breaks out between Mercer and the other thugs that are affiliated with his dad. And just everything that comes from that, too. He's just, I don't want any part of this. At which point, because it's later on as the heist is going down, Antoine gets into the clutches of Ray Liotta, and Ray Liotta uses Antoine as leverage to try and get Mercer to stand down. At which point, Regan just goes, "It is a damn miracle that my dad hasn't killed your son yet." It's just like, oh boy.
Because he also kills Copeland just because Copeland is moaning
agonizing
in
pain.
Because he's missing his leg.
Because he's missing his fucking leg. Which was very, very unmedically amputated, by the way.
Yeah.
I was genuinely surprised the man was alive, looking at the very long and very thick pool and trail of blood coming from his leg. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
So, this was the point that firmly established, okay, Lowell's just a total piece of shit. And it's why, if I may skip ahead, because most of this doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly.
When Antoine shoots him, we both broke into a round of little golf clapping.
Golf claps.
Nothing raucous, nothing to disrupt the audience, just, good show, old sport, you really got him that time.
And it's really funny and kind of sad because you can see that Antoine is very clearly distraught about having to shoot somebody, but he shoots him in an effort to save his dad, because preceding this is a whole car chase where Regan and Joseph have gotten killed.
Dennis.
And so Dennis have gotten killed. And it ends with a crash and all of the platinum, I guess, because the platinum hit the ground, it's all contaminated, it can't be used anymore. At which point Ray Liotta walks over to his very dying son and just goes, "I'm sorry, I didn't do better for you. I did the best that I could," before shooting him dead.
Because he's an asshole.
Because he's a fucking asshole. Lowell goes over to Mercer and is getting ready to shoot him, and then Antoine just unloads a couple bullets into him and kills him, which I'm very much joining in the golf clap, but I'm also looking at Antoine's face and be like, oh shit, you poor thing.
Yeah, but no, don't feel, obviously.
I feel more bad for Antoine than I do for Lau.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing that he feels bad about it, but he shouldn't feel bad because he was a piece of shit, which is why our reaction was to golf clap, basically go, good show, old sport, you really, what's the term the kids use these days? Got his
Clapped
ass.
his ass. Which, of course, leads to a very heartfelt ending of Mercer taking Antoine, taking the gun from him, and consoling him, at which point they just drive away from the scene with the van, these corpses, and all this platinum on the ground, which part of my brain was going, how do they explain that? And then I realized, because they zoom out and they just show LA on fire, and it's just like, there's an argument that can be made that they were just victims of the riots, and it would probably get a pass.
Yeah. As long as they don't dust that gun for prints.
Yeah, for real.
But I guess fingerprints, you need to already be in the criminal database for that to do anything, so...
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm not a criminal. But yeah, this movie's good. The more I think about it, and the more that I think about it, especially after having talked about it and going over the spoiler section, yeah, now I'm very much of the opinion that the whole heist angle kind of sucked, and I feel like the movie would have been improved if it wasn't part of it.
No, definitely. It's the real albatross around this movie's neck when you could have just focused in on the riots and on Mercer's attempt to keep his son safe and keep his son from diving off the deep end into the same kind of destructive behavior that brought him to where he is. And I understand the idea of, let's have a bad father figure in as a parallel, but really, a platinum heist?
Yeah, of all things. And my brain also, when it's like, we'll steal platinum and sell, it's like, who the fuck are you gonna sell fresh platinum to? I know it's like the whole thing of like, the black market, but really? I feel like that would raise my brows than anything else.
They'll find a guy. There's always a guy.
Fair.
I think that about wraps us up, yeah?
Yeah, probably.
Cool. Yeah, this is a decent movie. It's definitely held back by inserting something that doesn't really fit and isn't as good as the main appeal, that being the dramatic elements as portrayed by Tyrese Gibson, which, wow, what a sentence. But...
Yeah. Man, we have so many sentences that are just like, no one's ever said that sentence before, have they?
Yeah, no, it's a week of weird sentences. That's going in the description.
It's the weird of weird sentences, forgetting people's names, and just saying the wrong thing altogether. Hacha!
But anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. Next week, it's the big enchilada himself. It's Beetlejuice.
The juice is loose.
The juice is in fact loose, but not the juice you're thinking of.
Right. Now I want orange juice.
You know what? Same. Actually, wait, I got fruit punch at home. It's not the same,
even better.
But
I'd say it's an improvement.
Still pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
But regardless of what kind of juice we have in our fridge, this has been Under the Bridge with Cody, aka the Scarlet Troll.
And with Greg, aka Greg.
And we'll catch you all next week.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye!